Konami just announced a brand new world premiere archetype being released in Phantom Nightmare called the Ashened, but how good is it? What's potion? You got Matt here, and welcome back to our competitive Yu-Gi-Oh video. Phantom Nightmare is set to release in just about 2 weeks time, and it's already going to be one of the most exciting sets in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh, including really powerful cards like Promethean Princess, Bestower of Flames, Snake Eye Populace, the Voiceless Voice archetype, and more. But Konami has thrown us a curveball by releasing a brand new world premiere TCG exclusive archetype in the form of the Ashened. So in this video, I'll be covering the Ashened archetype, including an overview on what the cards do and how the deck works, cards and engines that you'll want to pair with it, and even cards that are going to help you beat it. So if you're excited for the video, then make sure to smash the like button. If this video hits 250 likes, then I'll bring you an awesome guide to the Voiceless Voice archetype. Also, if you like deck profiles, combo guides, meta discussions, and competitive Yu-Gi-Oh videos just like this one, you're going to love this channel. So make sure to subscribe and help us reach our new goal of 7,500 subscribers. But with that being said, it's time for us to find out how good is the Ashened archetype in competitive Yu-Gi-Oh. Let's jump into it. So these cards are all incredibly new. They only got released, what, like 48 hours ago? So what we're going to do today is we're going to cover each of the individual cards in detail to find out what they do and how they pair well with each other. The new Ashened cards are Vados, the Eruption Dragon of Extinction, Priestess of the Ashen City, Hero of the Ashen City, King of the Ashen City, Obsidian the Ashen City, Awakening of Vados, and Ashened for Eternity. Starting off with the 4 main deck monsters, we have Vados, the Eruption Dragon of Extinction. It's a level 9 Dark Pyro monster with 2800 attack and 1500 defense. During the main phase, if this card is in your hand, as a quick effect, you can target one card in any field zone, special this card to your opponent's field, and if you do, destroy that card. Then you can add to hand or set one Ashened Continuous Trap from your deck. If this card is sent from your opponent's field to your graveyard, you can destroy all monsters on the field. Priestess of the Ashen City is a level 4 Dark Pyro with 1200 attack and 1300 defense, so you can search it off of Bonfire. If Obsidian the Ashen City is in the field zone, you can special this card from your hand. Both of King and Hero share this effect as well. On normal or special summon, you can add one Ashened card from your deck to your hand except itself. So it's a pretty simple Stratos for the archetype, but any Ashen deck will want to play this at 3 copies. King of the Ashen City is a level 8 Dark Pyro with 1400 attack and 2700 defense. If Obsidian the Ashen City is in the field zone, you can special this card from your hand. During your main phase, you can special summon one Ashened monster from your hand except for itself. Or if your opponent controls any monster with 2800 or more attack, you can special it from your deck instead. Hero of the Ashen City is a level 7 Dark Pyro with 2600 attack and 2100 defense. If Obsidian the Ashen City is in the field zone, you can special this card from your hand. As a quick effect, during the main phase, you can target one Pyro on the field and destroy it. Then if you destroyed Vados, the Eruption Dragon of Extinction by this effect, you can place one Obsidian the Ashen City from your deck face up in your field zone. For the moment, there are no extra deck monsters, so we move on to the spell cards. Obsidian the Ashen City is the field spell for the deck. Face up special summon monsters your opponent controls become Pyro during your turn only. During your end phase, you can target one Obsidian the Ashen City in your graveyard. Place it to the bottom of your deck and draw one card. If this card in the field zone is destroyed or banished, you can special summon one Ashen monster from your deck. Awakening of Vados is the quick play spell where you can place one Obsidian the Ashen City face up in either field zone. Then if your opponent controls a card in their field zone, you can add one level 5 or higher Dark Pyro monster from deck to hand. For the rest of this turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon from the deck or extra deck except for Pyro monsters. Just an FYI, before Phantom Nightmare, the only current Dark Pyro monsters that existed were level 4 or lower. Ashened for Eternity is the continuous trap of the deck. When this card is activated, you can add one Vados, the Eruption Dragon of Extinction, or one Ashen monster from your graveyard to your hand. You can target one face-up monster your opponent controls that you own. Take control of that monster, then make all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls lose attack equal to the targeted monster's original attack until the end of the turn. So how does the deck work? Well, its main gimmick is going to be to summon out a bunch of monsters by taking advantage of having Obsidian the field spell on the field on either your opponent's side or your side. By starting with Obsidian, which you can get through multiple different ways, and Priestess, which you can get through Bonfire, you can essentially access every single Ashen monster in your entire deck, including Vados. The deck is also able to interrupt any strategy that wants to use a field spell card because you can just chain the effect of Vados to the activation of a field spell your opponent would use, destroying that field spell, giving them the Vados, and because the field spell is no longer on the field, it cannot activate or resolve its effect. And when they have Vados, they can't link with it, they can't synchro with it, because if it leaves the field, you can just dark hole the entire board as well. Ashen doesn't really have any other forms of interruption that they can use as part of their engine. I mean, Hero is kind of like interruption, but only on your turn because Obsidian makes all special summon monsters your opponent controls Pyros and it can destroy Pyros, but that's only during your turn, so it's kind of limited in that regard. So I guess what I want to say about this deck is that right now it's just incomplete, but we already knew that. It's only the first wave of support we're getting, and eventually we're going to keep getting more waves of support that I think will make this deck a lot better. But if you want to play the deck right now, what would you do? Well, looking at some ratios, you definitely want to play 3 copies of the field spell, 3 copies of the quick play spell, 3 copies of Vados, 3 copies of Priestess, and 3 copies of King for the time being. you probably also only want to play one copy of the Continuous Trap and one copy of Hero as well. So just the archetype alone, it's only 17 cards. That's not too many right now, considering the deck doesn't do too much with those 17 cards, so we have to supplement it with other engines. Because a pure variant doesn't have enough juice to really compete in today's metagame, you're going to have to pair with other engines. And let's take a look at what those engines are going to be right now. One of the best engines that you can pair with this strategy, in my opinion, is going to be the Horus engine. The fact that it can easily get out level 8 monsters onto the field is really nice. Because of that, having access to 2 copies of King, which you can get through your normal combo, plus a happy and an Imseti, means you can end on a board with Hope Harbinger and of course Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord. The Horus engine can also give additional consistency to this strategy by drawing an extra card, and of course in the end phase, the extra copy of Obsidian that you might have discarded off the effect of King Sarcophagus or Imseti can be put back to the bottom of the deck to draw another card. Ashen can also be paired with Kashtira. It's not the perfect fit, but they definitely do work quite well because Hero is a level 7 that can allow you to extend your plays in Kashtira. And of course, by having access to Vados to be able to pop field spell, that is really nice as well. On top of that, Ashen doesn't really care too much about Dimension Shifter, which is huge to get some key wins against different strategies. Additionally, Kashtira can help create a bunch of powerful boss monsters, which Ashen kind of struggles with. The Bistils also work decently well with this strategy too, considering that all the Ashen monsters are dark monsters, so they can be banished with the Bistils and then recycled back with Branded Regained, which is an insane card for resource management. And of course, the Bistils facilitate a game plan of getting access to really powerful Synchro, Succeeds, and Link monsters, which the deck really needs. Bonfire will also definitely be played in this strategy, considering it is a way to search for Priestess, which is the best card in the main deck right now. So Bonfire 3 copies is going to be a must-have, unfortunately. Super Polymerization is also an awesome card in the Ashen strategy for 2 different reasons. The first of which is going to be that the Ashen deck doesn't really utilize the extra deck too much, so there's enough space for that card, and it's one of the best board breakers in Yu-Gi-Oh! Today. And on your turn, if you control Obsidian the Ashen City, it makes all of your opponent's special summon monsters Pyros, which is really nice to be able to go and Super Poly into something like Garura. It won't work for Mud Dragon, but it is still good to know. Pot of Prosperity is mandatory to play in the deck in my opinion. Again, you don't really need the extra deck too much, and it searches out for cards. Just remember, it can conflict with the Horus engine, and it can also conflict with the drawing and recycling of a card like Obsidian in the end phase. Infernal Flame Banshee is another mandatory card to play in this strategy. It's a generic rank 4 that can search for any Pyro monster in the game, including Vados. And because Banshee itself is a Pyro type monster, that's really good because you can summon it after using the effect of Awakening. Another Pyro type extra deck monster that's really solid right now is going to be Garunic's Eternity. Yeah, the boss monster of the Fire King archetype that's not seeing too much play anymore. It is a Pyro type monster that can be made using any 2 level 8 monsters, which is huge considering that King and all the Horus monsters are level 8s as well. Getting you that board wipe and the back removal is absolutely insane. Now let's take a look against cards that you can use against the Ashen strategy to improve your chances of beating them. Starting off with cards that are good on your turn 0. Of course, Infinite Impermanence is going to be an absolutely critical card to use on something like King or Priestess when they try to do their search or special summons. Just make sure not to hold Imperm for too long, because if your opponent gives you the Vados, you can't activate Imperm because you control a card. Droll and Lockbird is also a really solid option here, because the deck, while it does do a good bit of searching with Bonfire and Priestess for example, what's more important than that is going to be the fact that in these other engines there's always going to be additional searching or draw power. Horus does it, Bistils do it, Kashtira does it, so basically your opponent has to decide, are they going to be using the Ashen engine or their secondary engine in the strategy? Nibiru the Primal Being is also a really solid card against this strategy. The deck doesn't summon out too many times, but by the time they get to 2 level 8s on field to go to Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord, they have 4 summons already used. So if they decide to use the effect of King, for example, to summon from the deck or hand, then at that point they're at 5 summons, you can Nibiru them and you're in a great situation. And if they decide not to use the effect of King, their end board is a lot less scary. As for cards to use when you're going first against this strategy, I think that right now Summon Limit is a fantastic option. They all need to have multiple different summons, and they really try and focus on swarming the field to get wins. If you can summon limit them, it makes life really difficult for them to try and break your board. Kashtira Fenrir is also a really solid card against this strategy going first. Not only is it a free special summon for you with a pretty big body, it's also nice because you can banish the field spell, for example, face down, which means they can't recycle it with the effect of the other field spell copies. And then negation that actually destroys the monster is also really important, like Baronne de Fleur. You don't really want to rely too much on something like Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, for example, or Borlos Savage Dragon, because those cards don't get rid of the monster. So sure, you can negate the effect to search or special summon from hand or deck, but at the end of the day, you can't stop them from going into powerful extra deck monsters, which the deck really wants to do to be at their best. But what if you're going second? What cards would you use then? Well, right now you have to know that all the cards in the Ashen engines don't really have too much interruption on your turn. Sure, there's Vados and the board wipe effect that it has, but that's really all it is. So they rely heavily on non-engine cards, and they rely also on cards in the extra deck. So for that reason, cards like Forbidden Droplet and Dark Ruler No More are good at shutting those things down. Another card that's also really solid against this deck, and it's ironic, is Super Polymerization. The deck absolutely hates dealing with it because all the Ashen monsters themselves are Dark Pyro, so you can go into Garura, and on top of that, all these extra deck monsters, most of them are going to be Dark monsters. That's just the best attribute in the game for a reason. So having any extra deck Dark monster with any copy of the Ashen monsters as well well allows you to go into something like a Mud Dragon to clear a big threat. So let's recap. Honestly, any deck right now that would really want to utilize something like a field spell is going to have a really hard time against this strategy, specifically because of Vados, for example, and because of Awakening, getting rid of the field spell when they try to activate the effect of it. The deck can also definitely OTK you because Vados, Priestess, Hero, and King combine exactly for 8,000 damage. And right now the deck is incomplete. As we continue to get more support, I think the deck will keep getting better and better, but for the time being, with the support that we have, it just is missing something. Also, more of a side note here, but I think Vados is an amazing card that everyone should probably want to pick up because in any format where field spells are going to be absolutely critical to the strategy being successful, having Vados to shut that down on turn 0 is really nice. And there you have it. You now have a guide on how to use or beat the Ashened Archetype in competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Now let me know down in the comments below, what are your thoughts on the archetype itself, and are you planning on playing it when it gets released? Honestly, I think it's a really cool archetype. I love the artwork and the concept of it, but for right now, considering the amount of support that we have for it, I probably won't be picking it up just yet. But if you made it this far in the video, you must have enjoyed it, so don't forget to leave a like on the video. Remember, if this video hits 250 likes, I'll bring you an awesome guide just like this one on the voiceless voice archetype that's dominating in the OCG. Of course, make sure to follow me on Twitter as well for exclusive content and sneak peeks. The link is in the description, and check out our new Discord server as well. And finally, subscribe to the channel for more amazing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos and help us reach our new goal of 7,500 subscribers. And if you want to support the channel even further, click the join button to become a channel member. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next time.